Hey everyone, it's Electra. It's just occurred to me that capitalism would be a lot more fun if we were allowed to participate in it. What do I mean by that? Well, in most political circles that I would say I've been more or less a part of or adjacent to or would be willing to spend I'd like to spend an hour in a room of 100 of these people. These are the types of people that hate capitalism with all their heart. They think it's the cause of every problem, and they think a system of communism would like fix everything overnight. And this is where, if you've watched my channel, I'm not afraid to I don't pull punches, and I like to bring up points that may be unorthodox. And I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb and say, as someone who used to consider themselves, or maybe still does in some ways, a borderline communist or socialist, I don't think that capitalism is really that much of the problem here. And that's because what we are living in is no more capitalism than it is communism. Or maybe I said that wrong, but what we have now is just as communistic as capitalistic. Why is that? Well, when we have such a consolidated corporate structure that there is no free enterprise. There are no chances as an average American to start a business, and I don't mean just some little internet online Etsy shop. I mean an actual business doing real things with real materials, with real people, building something or performing a vital service, not just selling things on Etsy. Which no offense if you do that. We need those types of things too, but that's not going to be a way for millions and millions of tens of millions of Americans to make a living. So. But what was a way to make a living was opening some sort of shop that sold something you were into. One of the few ways this still exists that I see is board game stores. Almost every city has at least one. I know my city here, there is a really good one. And as I've been traveling around Illinois, I've been stopping in as many board game stores as I can everywhere. And most of them are not that good up there, unfortunately. That would be one drawback about moving there. But that's what online shopping is for, though, right? And so back to capitalism. Capitalism would be more fun if we were allowed to participate in it the way Americans were allowed to participate in it up until the end of the New Deal. Let's say up until about 1970 to 1980. Regular Americans owned stores and made a living, made profits, selling things, making things. In other words, we were not just consigned to the consumption side of the capitalist consumerist system. That's all we are now, and that's why we hate it so much. Of course we hate it because we're the consumers. We're getting raked over the coals more and more every year for the basics, because the people that hold the power now, corporate America, they know they got us, they got us where it matters. And why should they go easy on us? Obviously they should for humanitarian reasons, but that's also not how the game is played. And there's playing the game to the letter of the law, and they probably don't even understand half the things they're doing. It's all algorithms and making the maximum amount of profit that their MBAs taught them how to do. Spoiler alert, you don't need an MBA to run a business. Almost nobody had MBAs until the 1990s. And coincidence is that's when our current hellhole started to form. So what do I mean by capitalism would be more fun if we were allowed to participate? The only way to play the game now is to become an indentured servant or modern slave to a corporation or some sort of soulless shell that is just going to nobody employs you now unless they are exploiting you. If they're not profiting off of not just your labor itself, but actually just employing you, if that makes sense. Like, if a company stops making money off your employment, they're going to fire you or terminate you or whatever they need to do to get rid of you. So capitalism would be more fun if we were allowed to participate, because I think we would see things not just from the consumer side, but also from the producer or, the production side, and not more of the supply side, I guess, if you want to say the supply side versus the demand side. And I think this is important for like thinking, feeling people who might consider themselves on the political left, or current or former Democrats, independents that lean left. Is communism isn't going to save us any more than communism would. Communism is not going to save us any more than capitalism is killing us. Capitalism isn't killing us. It's a communized version, a bastardized version of capitalism that has been deployed on us. And that's what we hate. We hate being victims to this system. We hate being slaves to this system. So of course we hate the system, right? That we hate what's doing this to us. It's totally natural. But I think it's also part of the trick here is that they've tricked us into thinking we hate capitalism when we actually hate what's happening now. So yeah, I don't know if any of this is making sense. It's getting late, and but I just had this random thought and got a nice sunset going on behind me here. It's about 9 o'clock Central Time. And I think where this is going, anyone who watches this channel of mine knows, like, I talk a lot about Lincoln, and everything that happened back then is basically happening again now. And although Lincoln would be considered a leftist, in my opinion, if he were alive today, he was definitely on the left for his time. The left-right verbiage didn't really exist yet, but it definitely would be considered the left. He would probably be a Democrat by today's standards, but probably more on the independent side. But my point is that, yes, he was on the left for his time, but yes, he had to be allied with the financial elites of the North, particularly the Northeast. That's where all the money was in the 1850s. He had to appease the Northeastern bankers who had a financial interest in making sure, by guaranteeing free labor's manifest destiny to the West Coast and not slavery. Because if slavery basically did an end around the North, basically, like, let's say, slavery could be like Seattle could be would have been a slave, Washington state would have been a slave state if the South had their way. Basically everything north and west of Nebraska would be a slave state if the South had their way. The Northeastern capitalists had to make sure that didn't happen for their own financial reasons, of course. So what did Lincoln do? He allied with them, because nothing happens in any sort of capitalist system unless the people with the money agree that you are correct in that their financial futures are 100% dependent on what you want to have happen. And in that case, the left and the financial elites of the Northeast, their goals aligned and consolidated, and Lincoln was the genius to do that in the election of, basically starting in the late 1850s, culminating in his presidential election in 1860. So I think feeling people that want things to improve in this country need to get over the fact that money is important. Like, money is important. It still is important. We don't like to think it is, because we hate it. From our perspective, we hate it. There's nothing good about it. It's just a total drag on life, right? we hate it. But it's still how society has operated. It's hopefully one day we'll evolve out of it, but we're not there yet, and we're not going to get there if we don't play the game as it currently is right now. So what does that mean now? Just as the political right has allied with those forces, the left can do the same. It's just going to be different parts of the elites, or it's going to be, there needs to be some sort of financial issue or need that needs to be met that also coincides with the destruction of this fascist state that has developed around us. And I'm not sure exactly what that is yet. It's something I think about all the time. And if you think about it and you think of it, what would it be? What do you think that could be? What could the political left and the financial elites be able to join together on to get financed? Because you have to be financed. Lincoln's Cooper Union speech in 1860 was the whole reason. By speaking to these bankers in New York City at the Cooper Union, that's basically how he became president. Because at that point in New York or anywhere in New England, he was an unknown. He was just like this prairie lawyer from Springfield, Illinois. No one in the East knew of him. Hardly anyone outside of Illinois even heard of him. How did he get well known in the Northeast? He went to New York City, made this just monumental speech at the Cooper Union, and that's essentially what solidified his candidacy. So let me know what you think. I think that's all I have for now. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.